IVM. Facebook, Pinterest, food blogs, and countless other apps have changed the way we cook. Suddenly, not only do we have thousands of recipes we can try, but platforms like Facebook groups offer an opportunity to interact with a community of like-minded people and to find our tribe. Our grandmothers had their potluck groups and recipe or book exchange clubs. We have Facebook groups. When it comes to Parsi food, it is only recently in the past 5 or 7 years that blogs and groups focused entirely on our cuisine have popped up. On these groups, you will see Parsis posting recipes of daily Parsi food cooked at home. Ras chawal, curry rice, gawar ma kolmi, French beans ma gos. All of this never makes it to any newspaper article that talks about Parsi food. One such group is Parsis Exchange Recipes, founded by Vera Springett, which today has more than 9,000 members globally. This may seem small to you, but it's not actually when you consider that there's just over 100,000 Parsis in the whole world. A copywriter and creative director by day, Vera started PER as a means to celebrate the Parsi recipes that hail from the everyday cook, so that our cooking customs and traditions can have a central repository for generations to come. On the show today, we discuss the role online communities and platforms play in preserving food traditions. We chat about what goes into creating engaged communities online and how groups like Parsis Exchange Recipes help support home chefs and local entrepreneurship. This is Not Just Dhansak, and now let's chat with Vera. Hi Vera, thank you for coming on the show.
Hi Perzen, thank you for inviting me.
Great. So Vera, let's start at the very beginning. Can you tell me what your earliest memories around food are, especially around cooking or eating Parsi food?
Sure. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. And so I grew up in a very Parsi household. Our traditions were typically the same. We had Dandar Patio on, good religious occasions or on our birthdays, Navjots, etc. But I think one of the best things I remember about my childhood is back then in Pakistan, we had Friday, Saturday as our holidays, as our weekends. And so every Friday we would go to my grandmother's house, my maternal grandmother's house for lunch. And so the entire family would gather there. And my grandmother would make this amazing meal. My aunt, who lived with her, she would make the meal with her, and we would all get together and eat and drink. And it was just a good time to be with the family. And it happened every single week that I was growing up. And it was something that I looked forward to. So, yeah, when I think of food, Parsi food and family, that's what I think of is my childhood memories with my family.
That's so amazing. So, even at my house, we used to have this tradition. Grandpa used to cook food for us every Sunday, and he would make, every Sunday it was kebabs for breakfast, dhansak for lunch, and cutlets for dinner. Like, I grew up thinking that people just had kebabs for breakfast.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And did you guys have any because you had like a Friday and a Saturday, did you have a Dhansak tradition at your place, or was it like a set meal that would be cooked every Friday, or it would just be whatever that...
No, there was no set meal. There was nothing like Dhansak every Sunday or Friday. I think my grandmother, she just made whatever. Sometimes it wouldn't even be necessarily a Parsi dish. I think sometimes it could be a roast chicken, or sometimes there would be Chinese, or, most times it would be a Parsi dish, I would say, but not always.
Okay, great. And so when did you move to Chicago then?
So I moved here when I was 18 to go to college. So I am a first-generation immigrant here. And that was, back 23 years ago.
Wow.
Back in 1996. Yeah. My parents always tell me that I've lived here longer than I have in Pakistan now.
Yeah. But do you call Chicago home, or do you still call Karachi home?
I do a little bit of both. When I'm here, I call Karachi home. And my cousin always catches me on that. She's like, well, which one is it? is it home or is it not? And then when I'm in, visiting Phoenix or something, I'll say, oh, I gotta go home, which is Chicago. And she'll be like, well, which one is it again?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit of both, I would say.
So has it been hard or easy for you to sort of stay in touch with your Parsi roots once you moved to Chicago?
Um, I, I would say it's been a little bit of both, right? I mean, I was never, the way I was raised, I don't think I was raised completely entrenched into the Parsi community. I mean, I was, I had a ton of Parsi friends, of course, but I didn't go per se to the Parsi schools or to many community events that way. And I'm not sure why. It just happened to be that way.
Yep.
But so coming here was not as difficult a transition for me. I think I was okay. I I hate to say it, but I never loved Parsi food back then, as much as I do now.
Yeah. It seems to be like an evolution, because that was the same for me when I was living in New Zealand. Before I got married, I was really not interested in Parsi food at all.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah, and then I got married, and I mean, now even more so once I have kids, I don't know, it just feels like something I have to do to pass on my legacy to them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my husband, he's American, so for him, there's no attachment to Parsi food at all. So he likes Dhansak, thankfully, but he does not like curry chawal at all. So I never make curry chawal because the only person in the house who would eat it would be me, and now maybe my daughter would, because when she was born, I finally. Oh my gosh, I used to hate tandar. Hate tandar patio.
How can you hate tandar patio?
Oh my gosh, I used to hate it growing up. And then the only way I would eat tandar would be if I could put sugar on it. And God forbid if I ever eat patio. I still won't eat patio. I know, it's really weird. But thanks to with my daughter being born, I kind of forced myself to learn tandar, and I made it in a way that I would like it too, so she loves it.
Right.
And so now we eat it, but you'll never catch my husband eating it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is like me admitting that I actually don't like the flavor of eggs. I can't stand eggs.
Oh my God. Well, there you go.
And I'm always, because I run a Parsi catering service, I'm always really scared to admit that to anyone because they'll be like, oh, you're not authentic enough. We can't order from you anymore since you don't like eating eggs.
Yeah, that's right. Because you probably don't even try it, right? If you're making anything.
I mean, I like a curry and things like that, but I can't stand the flavor of a fried egg or just a boiled egg and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, this leads us to, can you tell me how the idea of Parsis Exchange Recipes came about, and how long has it been since you started?
So we started Parsis Exchange Recipes in December of 2016. It was, as you can imagine, a difficult year here in the United States because we had a rather strange outcome for our elections. So I decided not to have any more political arguments on Facebook, and instead I just threw myself into posting recipes on my own personal page. I was just posting these fun recipes that I would see, those videos that you see all the time on Facebook.
Right.
So I would post them on my page, more so to save them on my page so I could you make them later on. And then people, my friends would just start commenting on it, like, oh, this looks good. We should try making this. What if you did that? Oh, we should try that. And then my co-admin, Arbez Shraf Patel, she threw a comment out there on this one soup recipe that I had posted. And she's like, now, wouldn't it be interesting if we all had a group called Parsis Exchange Recipes and shared everything on there. Mm-hmm. Now, I had been flirting with the idea of starting a recipe exchange group with someone else.
Okay.
And then that person kind of flaked on me, and they were like, no, I don't want to do it. And then I was like, being a new mom and all of that, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I want to have a group. So our base threw that out there, and I said, well, if I start this group, would you guys participate? And so everyone who was in that conversation, in that Facebook post I had, they were like, yeah, we would totally participate, and we would share recipes. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to create this group, and then let's start sharing our recipes. So I, like, literally 10 minutes later, I created Parsis Exchange Recipes, and, started adding a couple of my friends. They added their friends, the people who were in there. And then Arbase, I asked Arbase, I said, hey, do you want to be my co-admin for this? And she was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And the next thing every person that we added just started adding more and more and more people. And I didn't even know there were other Parsi groups out there. This was merely something we were doing just as a group of friends, thinking, oh, we'll probably have like 40 to 50 people in this group and that'll be it, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh. The next thing you know, it was just blowing up, right? Like, we were so surprised when we had 100 people, and I was like, oh my God, we have 100 people in this group. That's amazing. And then it just kept going, 200, 300, 400. And holy cow, today we are at like almost 9,000 people, and I don't even know how that happened.
Yeah, that's just so amazing.
It took on this whole other life form that was completely unexpected and completely amazing.
Yeah. So I remember the first time I heard about Parsis Exchange Recipes, I was back in New Zealand, and my mum was actually sick at that time. So I was doing all the cooking in the house, and someone came to visit mom, and she was like, I was grumbling that, look, I only know like the same 5 things to cook. And I think mom is getting sick of eating those. And she was like, oh, you should check out this group called Parsis Exchange Recipes. It's like a really fun group, and I'm sure you'll find lots of recipes there. And yeah, so I went to Facebook and I logged into the group, and then I've been on it now for about 3 years. So
wow.
And I mean, that's actually how Bavi Bread started for me. It started as a place where I wanted to mainly record the recipes for myself, because I kept losing the pieces of paper where I'd write the recipes, and it turned into like a blog. And it's just amazing that there are so many people out there, and it's great to kind of find your tribe, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's amazing how people are so attached to this group and so emotionally attached sometimes to it. And just how people rally around you, even when you make decisions in the group. I'm not that into the Parsi community here either. I mean, in Chicago, we have a huge Parsi community, and we have a center and a Darbimer. And I'm ashamed to say I never really go. And yet I find such a greater sense of community with Parsis Exchange Recipes.
That's amazing.
It's really amazing.
So you're actually a copywriter by day. So tell me, do you, like, now that, the group is so active and has so many members, do you like sort of plan out a strategy of what you're going to do each month, or is it sort of very organic? How do you approach it?
I would say it's a little bit of both. It started out very organically, like whatever came our way, we were just like, all right, let's do this. Or, if someone would suggest a competition, we would just do it, and people loved it. Like, we were the group that became known for having these great challenges and competitions, and people would participate, and it was wonderful. But quite frankly, it was a lot of work to manage for me, right? I mean, I'm like managing 3 competitions a week. So I have to reach out to 3 different people and encourage them to, pick a winner and have them pick runners up. And it was just a lot of work. So I had to switch strategies a little bit here and there. And so I think what I did was, last year I decided, okay, this year we're going to do this. And I think it worked a lot better. And then I did the same thing come like November, December of last year. I said, okay, for 2019, this is what our theme is going to be, and we're just going to do this. And Arbiz and I often talk about these things, or sometimes what's great about Arbiz and me is we rely on each other to not even like have that conversation. Sometimes we're just like, just do it, and whatever works, and whatever people love, just do it and make it happen. So there's no like, I don't have a board sitting around me telling me I can and cannot do this or shouldn't do this. I just make it happen. Great. And that's the best part about PR.
Yeah, great. And I mean, so for one of my funniest things, which I always keep seeing on the group is, you'll say it's a Parsis Exchange Recipes and not Parsees exchanging food pictures, which I always gets a giggle out of me whenever I scroll and I read that. So, I mean, how important do you think is the role of an administrator in, like online communities like this? Because I know Arbiz and you are pretty... you try to stay hands-off and not sort of get involved in each of these things, but have you had any kind of like interesting experiences around, errant community members or so on?
So, I mean, our role is really important, right? In this group, we are essentially the gatekeepers. We're at the front lines, but like you said, we cannot at the same time be involved in the day-to-day, right? So I've noticed that we kind of have a sort of a policing system where some of my personal friends will tell me, oh, hey, they'll text me or call me or email me. Mm-hmm. It's really funny how I'll sometimes get a text, call, and email about an issue. And I'm like, really? This is like not my daily job,
Facebook
but okay. Seriously, it's a freaking great Facebook group. Like, relax, everybody. But they take it so seriously, and I'll get like, oh my God, at the beginning, it was really tough because it was almost like a part-time job for me.
Yeah.
Just monitoring the comments and making sure people weren't having arguments, making sure people were being cordial with each other. So, yeah, I mean, we are the gatekeepers of this group. It's really important to do that because in order to keep groups like this engaged and running efficiently, you need to make sure people are kind of following the rules, even if they're loosely following them.
Yep.
But it is a group specifically for exchanging recipes. I mean, I get that people want to post a picture and get it right up in the group because they're proud of it, and I get it, and I love that. I love that passion that people bring to it. But what it does is it takes away from the people who don't do that, the people who think about what they want to say, the people who write out a recipe with their due diligence, people like you, right, essentially, who take the time to write it out correctly, to make sure that people can follow the instructions properly, and then provide a really nice picture to go along with it. So if you put so much work into it, I don't want people to just post a picture and get away with it. And then there's people like you, for example, who put all that work into it, and then it's just, for nothing.
Yeah, because I think then that's what ends up keeping people engaged as well, because they know
exactly
that if they do a good job, they're going to, get recognized, and lots of people will comment on it and things like that. Yeah.
Right. And it gives people the opportunity to try out the recipe and actually make it work. And, it stops people from saying recipe, please, which is really annoying, quite frankly. And then
I think that's the second most said phrase on the group after it's exchange recipes, not pictures.
I know. And then I'll get a text, phone call, and email about it, and I'm like, well, I can't control that. People will be people. But yeah, I mean, we've had interesting experiences for sure. I mean, there have been wonderful community members, and then there have been some who, we often have an issue with or an argument with, but I always try to take that experience and that person aside in the conversation, and I try to have a private conversation with them and turn the entire situation into a positive. Because if you don't, it's going to lead to a negative experience throughout the community, and I don't want that to happen. I only hear good things about PER. I have random people from India, from Pakistan, from I don't know where, but people will so sweetly, they'll like private message me and say, oh, we love the group. We just want to say thank you. And that means so much to me because it makes me realize that we're doing something really good and we're doing the right thing by taking people aside and saying, hey, you know what, cool it. This is nothing personal. It's just a friendly group. Like, let's take it easy and let's just, play well with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. So I think we'll just take a quick break now and we'll just come back right to the conversation.
Okay, thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the month, Sawari, Storytel, and Paytm Money. Thank you for your support. Also, guys, we're still hiring, and as I've mentioned before, I think IVM Podcast is probably the best place to work in the world. So if you're interested in joining our team, we're looking for producers, content creators, audio engineers, developers. We're looking for business development people. We're looking for data scientists. We're looking for all kinds of roles. So if you're interested, send us an email to careers@indusvox.com, and we shall get back to you, hopefully, and get you on board. We have a brand new show launching called The Origin of Things. It's hosted by one of the co-hosts of Simplified, Deepak Gopalkrishnan, better known as Chuck. On this show, he'll be focusing on the origin of famous brands. Chuck will drop fascinating hints throughout the episode, but the brand is revealed only at the very end. Will you be able to guess the brand before the reveal? Find out by tuning into the first episode launching on Wednesday, 19th of June. And Keeping It Queer is back with Season 3. The new season has more of everything, from stories to debates to discussions. The show also has 2 hosts now, Naveen Narona and Farhad Karkaria. Tune into the first episode of their reunion. On The Scene and the Unseen, economist Ajay Shah returns to talk to Amit Verma on episode 125. This time around, they do a deep discussion about the world of finance. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Shivram Parmeshwaran, Senior Marketing Manager at LinkedIn, to talk about the brand and agency ecosystem in India. On What a Player, Siddharth, Akash and Mikhail are discussing the ongoing ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 and how most of the matches are washed out this season because of the rain. On States of Anarchy, urbanist Yang Sungi joins Hamsini Hariharan to talk about how the city of Seoul has evolved and what lessons it bears for cities in developing countries. Rock Tales is celebrating 100 episodes of storytelling with Anand Sivakumaran. He's set to charm you again with his new kind of storytelling on this special episode. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about mind mapping and how it can dramatically boost creativity. He also discusses the most important tool you can have in your productivity arsenal. This week on Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Anirudh and Janice talk about the women they love in the world of television. And with that, let's continue with your show.
Okay, so we're back and we are in conversation with Vera Springett, who is the founder of Parsis Exchange Recipes. So, Vera, we were talking about, creating engagement in the community and so on. So tell me, have you found yourself trying out recipes just so you can post them on PER?
I have actually. There have been a couple of recipes I tried. One of them was actually the Thanda recipe. I really wanted to make that for my daughter. And more than that, I just wanted to make it and do it right so that I would enjoy it too. And so I was really excited when I found the recipe that I really loved. And then I did post it on PER. So there's that, and then the batasas. Oh my gosh.
Yes, we have to talk about the batasas.
Yes, because, batasas are like gold in our community, especially abroad, right? So I was having a hard time finding the best batasa recipe. And then Charisse Vanya, she's one of our members of our group, she sent me a private message and said, try this one, try this recipe. I tried it. It's really good. So I did, and then I posted it on PER. I was so proud of myself because I couldn't believe I made batasas, and they turned out really well. So,
and that's actually
yes.
led to someone who runs Batata Babes now, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what Charisse and I did then, so Charisse lives in Toronto, Canada, and I live here in Chicago in the US. Charisse and I are really good friends as a result of this group. And so what Charisse and I did was we took that recipe and we tweaked it here and there, added an ingredient, and then we decided to create Batata Babes.
I just love that name. Sorry. I must say it's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. So I was like, Charisse, come on, let's do this. And she's like, oh, I don't know. There's a slight difference in the US and Canada when it comes to ingredients, right? I I'm able to get the ingredients here a lot more cost effectively than Sharice's. So it's a lot more cost effective for me to make batasas than it is for her. So for her, it's almost become like a community service, whereas for me, it's a good business, but I honestly, I work too much, and so I don't make batasas that often. But I do get regular orders from this one uncle who just loves them. He calls them these Shalimar batasas, which is Shalimar is a really good bakery back in Karachi, and they used to make amazing batasas.
Oh, that's
and so this
cool.
uncle will, so this uncle, he'll like send, like even the other day, he sent me like a check for $100, and he's like, just make me as many batasas for $100 as you can.
How many batasas do you get for $100?
Oh God. I mean, it includes mailing them, right? So it'll probably cost me about $25 or so to mail them. So this is my first time doing like that many for this guy. Last time I did like 4 packets, but I think I'll be able to do at least 6 or 7 large packets and then, mail it. But he just loves them and he freezes them. And then his brother came from London, so he had me do like a rush order. And the next thing you know, his brother is like taking them to London because he loved them. I was just like,
so
oh my
soon
God,
you're
going to
start like the first Parsi bakery in Chicago.
I know. I just, I work a lot and I freelance at night, and then I have my daughter, and so it's just really hard for me to do it. But I do it because I know these people love it, and it's their only way to get batasas. So
yeah. So we actually had Cyrus Dotiwala, who is the founder of Dotiwala Bakeries in Surat, and they're one of the very few people who actually ship their batasas internationally. Which is very...
You're kidding.
Yeah, which is very rare for, like a Irani or a Parsi bakery in India. Most of them don't even have a website or, won't even deliver to you within India or within Mumbai. So for these guys to like actually ship it internationally. And he had some amazing stories as well of, like I think he sends his batasa to this like tiny island just off India, and there's like one Indian store there. And there's clearly someone eating these batasas because he's like, every 2 months I'll get an order and I'll ship them. And I don't know who's eating them over there, but yeah.
That's hilarious. Does he ship to the US?
He does. I will find out and let you know. But
yeah, I mean, I would love it if he would post it in the group and I would order them. Just to try them, because everybody tells me about India batasas and I've never had Indian batasas, right?
Yep.
There was this, like, I didn't even realize you could do cardamom and all that in the batasas. And then when I tried it, it was amazing because this lady was like, oh, you should try that. That's what we get from India. I was like, really? And they turned out to be really good. So...
Oh, that's so amazing that it's, led to actually like a entrepreneurial venture which has come out of this kind of group, which is, it's pretty amazing. And and I think there's been more than you as well. There's been a few other people who have actually taken the jump and, tried to start selling their food and things like that as a result of the group.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's our platform, right? We often used to hear in the group, oh, not allowed to post, if we're selling anything in other groups. And I was like, well, why would you do that? Like, I so want to buy stuff from people in the US if people would make food more often, and I would totally order from people.
Yep.
So I think that became, and the same for Arbe's, right? Because she lives in Texas. So for both of us, we were like, oh my God, can you imagine if we opened the door for all these people, even in the US or in India, wherever they are, to post about the food that they make and to sell it? Like, that would be amazing personally for us because we could finally buy food and know where these people are, but just in general, the entire community to open up the floodgates and just say, hey, these people are selling their food, like, go buy it.
Because
I mean, traditionally, you've been waiting for.
Because traditionally home chefs have, really just relied on word of mouth. And, I mean, in this new age, like Facebook groups like these can give them the platform to, get their word out a little bit more, because I mean, frankly, even at my stage, I can't advertise. Like, I wouldn't think about it. I do it maybe once a year at Navroz, and that's it. And the rest of the time, it's all
Right.
just word of mouth.
Right, exactly. And that's the one thing we decided right from the get-go. Once we started getting that feedback, we were like, absolutely not. We are going to let everybody advertise, and we're going to let them, I mean, yes, it's taken a little time to put the rules around it, where people need to start like coming around to them.
Yeah.
But they are coming around, and they are starting to, put in the right information and say, this is what we're selling, this is how we're doing it. And I really do appreciate that.
That's
But
amazing.
more than that, I mean, I've gotten I get wonderful messages from people who are selling their stuff, and they're like, they thank us for allowing them to do this. And I'm like, you don't have to thank me. Like, this is what every group should be allowing you to do. Like, these are our community people. If we don't help them, then who will? Right?
Yeah.
So.
Great. No, I mean, I think it's really, really amazing to like have that platform, because, otherwise home chefs who do this very kind of specialized food like a darni pori or vasano, and they
Right.
don't actually view this as a venture. It's more like as a side gig that they're doing. There's no
Exactly.
way for them to get that business on a regular basis. So.
Right. And you know what? I mean, I would hope that, people continue to post what they're selling and what they're making and sharing it in our group, because that's what makes our group amazing and stronger as a community.
Cool. So I had a question to ask you. I don't know, have you heard about the Time and Talents Club, which was around in India in the 1950s and 60s?
So no, I never had heard of that until BR came along.
So, well, the Time and Talents Club used to be this, group of ladies, educated ladies, basically. And back then they didn't used to work, so they used to meet together and, contribute recipes, like a recipe exchange club, like you were saying, but a physical kind of club. And there would be people, contributing like very traditional Parsi recipes, as well as very, like English recipes of like a fish Florentine and so on as well. And they've actually, ended up, they used to publish these as like small booklets kind of thing from time to time. So my question to you was that, like today, I mean, the oldies had these time and talent clubs. We have Facebook groups. So do you think they're like comparable? I mean, I don't see anyone actually taking the time to have a recipe exchange group in today's day and age. But I think Facebook groups are kind of doing that work for us in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it is a good way to exchange recipes. I mean, I don't have time to go out and meet people and exchange recipes. So, I mean, anything that makes it easier in this day and age, whether we do it socially or however we do it, I think it works.
But then in this age of like where we're just sharing recipes over groups, do you feel that recipe books still hold their value? Like, do you find yourself buying more or less cookbooks? Like I used to be a huge cookbook fan, but nowadays I'm just, a little bit of minimalistic thing. And also this, I'm always like, am I going to refer to this cookbook? Should I even buy it? Should I just Pinterest it? What do you feel?
So I think there's a little bit of both in that. I have a huge library of cookbooks, even though I don't cook much from them. But I just love reading recipes, and I love the pictures. I'm just going to be honest. I do love the pictures.
That's what I do as well from my cookbooks. So, so it's totally fine.
I know. They're really pretty pictures. What can I say? But I do love reading the recipes too. I do have a lot of them. Do I buy them as often as I used to? Probably not. Unless it's like a collector item or something, then I will buy it. But otherwise, you're right. I mean, now if I need a recipe, I'll just Google it, or I'll look it up in Parsis Exchange Recipes, or I'll, like you said, or I'll Pinterest it, or I'll I'll just look it up. It's so much easier, right?
Yeah.
Than it used to be,
But I
which
think,
is really unfortunate. But there is value in having these cookbooks, right? There are some cookbooks that you'll never find online, and some recipes that you'll never, like like our book from Karachi, which is Manna of the Angels. You're never going to find that online.
yeah.
So yeah, you got to have, I think they will hold their value.
And I think cookbooks that share, like personal stories and anecdotes, and it's
Right.
not just about the recipe. For me, those are the ones that I really treasure, at least.
Exactly. I agree with that.
Great. So, for me, I also felt that Parsis Exchange Recipes is a great place to discover like really lost recipes. Like, I've come across Udvadia Gosh and like Kariyama Gosh, and, someone had shared a recipe last year, which I tried out, which was the Pani Nu Achar.
Mm-hmm.
And and people go out of their way to share these like lost and extinct recipes, and they're so adventurous, like in terms of trying out new things. But this is so different from like the catering scene, which I've found at least, because I'm always trying to push people to try like something new, like try this out or try this lost recipe or try like order it. But people end up ordering only like dhansak or berry pulao or curry rice, which I find really strange, like that you cook all this nice stuff, but you won't order it out. So yeah, what do you feel about that?
I mean, are you asking me why people are willing to share these recipes online?
I think, why do you feel, so people share these recipes online and they'll try it out as well, right? Like if someone tells you like, oh, try out this Karyano gos and stuff. But now if someone tells you, oh, I'm selling Karyano gos, most people will not like go end up buying it. They'll just be like, no, we'll just stick and buy Dhansak. So at least that's what I've
That's
found.
Interesting. I didn't even realize that was happening. Like, why wouldn't you try something new? I mean, I guess
I feel education is a big part of it because, many people are very like wary of like, oh, I don't know how it's going to taste. So, should I really buy it?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, have you considered? So here's one thing I would consider doing, right? Like when I do my batasas or when I send out batasas, I know that this one auntie in Florida, right? She loves the jalapeno and cheese ones and she loves the cardamom ones.
Yep.
But she's never tried the bacon batasas that we've done. And she's hesitant.
Yep.
Right? So what I'll do
Who
is
would
I'll
be
maybe
hesitant about bacon batasas? Like, I want to come to Chicago just so I can try them.
I know, right? But she was hesitant to buy. At first, she was hesitant just to get the cheese batasas.
Yep.
So I sent her a little sample along with her package, and I said, "Auntie, just ek wakate try kari diyo. Like, just try them, right?" And she just fell in love with the cheese batasas, and then her husband fell even more in love with them. So now her order comes to me, dikrab, just cheese and jalapeno, and I'm like, all right, there you go, So I think maybe if you sent, not you, but you know what I mean, like if caterers sent a little sample of whatever dish they're trying to promote along with a catering order, you never know. It might open up a whole new world for someone.
Yes, that's actually a really good idea. I'm definitely going to try it out. So tell me, from Parsis Exchange Recipes, have you ended up making like, any sort of like really real friendships like offline, which have come about as a result of this group?
Definitely. For one, Shri Swanya, she and I are really good friends. It's odd because we're both from Karachi, but we grew up in very different generations, right? She's a little older than I am, not very much, but just a little bit. But she moved to the US a lot earlier than I did. And then we just clicked and we hit it off and we're just, I don't know, we've become really good friends.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, there's her, there's a bunch of other people that I talk to regularly. In fact, some people I knew from Karachi, but never really interacted with them very much, more so because I was younger back then. But like, Nilofer Marvelwala, right? She and I,
we had Nilofer on the show as well.
Oh, did you? Yeah, she's
She's,
great.
yes.
Like she's helped me a lot. But she and I are really good friends, more so than I ever thought we would be. And always has such good advice for me, whether it's about the group or about making tandar or how to cut my watasas or anything. She's just really wonderful.
Yeah, she has
And
a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Parsi food.
she does, because she comes from a family that has a wealth of knowledge
Yep.
of good Parsi food, and that's what's so inspiring about her. And she's awesome.
So tell me, do you have any like sort of future plans for this group? Like, would you consider doing offline events or like an ebook? Like, would you want to at some point monetize this community? I'm sure it's like, taking up a huge chunk of your life. So,
You know, I've thought about all of that, right? I mean, I was in Karachi a few months ago, and um, unfortunately, I was so sick most of the time that I was there, and so was my daughter, and it had nothing to do with the food there. We actually went there having a lot of like flu stuff going on. So I ended up not being able to meet a lot of people when I was there, even though I wanted to have like a PER community gathering, and it just never came down to it because we were too sick most of the time. But I would like for people to have more events, and I think they do in Toronto. I don't know if you just saw, but Sherry Jetty and Supriya Naik, all those people from the group, they had a little get together because Sherry was visiting from Toronto.
Oh, that's so
they
cool.
all had so they all had a get together over there, and it's people who have never met each other but are finding friendships privately through PER, and who are meeting. And I think that's great that it's happening organically.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what community is about, right? You know what? I'm heading to New Zealand for a visit soon. So I'm going to try to do a PER meetup, considering
that would be awesome.
I got introduced to the group in New Zealand. So I think I should do one.
Oh, wonderful. That would be, see, and then if you can, so one of the things that the Toronto group does is when they have a meetup, they do like a Facebook Live or they'll do a video and they'll post it to PER.
Oh, wow.
Which is really fun to watch, right? And they'll all have a little something that they say about the group or about their friendships. And so maybe if you could do that, that would be even more fun, because I know people in New Zealand are big fans of the group too.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans there.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be wonderful if you did a meetup and just take a video and just post it.
Definitely.
Thank you. I would love that.
So just to wrap up, you were talking that you have a little daughter. So tell me, like, have you introduced like cooking to her, and do you find that living overseas, like sharing your food legacy with her, is important to you? In some ways, like, it's because food is such a big part about what a Parsi is, at least to me, right?
Yep,
So how do you like share that legacy with your kids and your future generations?
So it's funny you should ask, because I was, every time I pull the food processor out, my daughter, she's only 3, but ever since I started making batasas when she was probably around a year and a half, almost 2, right? So every time I pull out the food processor, she's like, "Mommy, are you going to make batasas?" So it's like she just knows, right? So yeah, I mean, so she's had Parsi food in Karachi with my parents. She eats tandar with me. I make ravo and save and all that. She loves all of that. She hasn't quite had Dhansak, but I'm sure she would love it. She's actually got a very refined palate. So like I gave her chicken makhani the other day and she loved it.
Yeah, I gave my 8-month-old hummus and roti that day, and he like gobbled it up. And I was like, wow, you're lucky. I never got hummus when I was like 8 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I would love for her to carry on these traditions. One of the reasons which I do the thing I do on Nowruz every year, on the March Nowruz, where I make ravo or save, and I put them into mason jars, and I distribute it to the neighbors.
Oh, that's like a lovely tradition. That's really cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just to spread awareness of our religion, and it supports one of the Fazana projects actually that we have here. And it's something that I want my daughter to be able to do when she's older with me, and when she's on her own, off on her own too, you know?
Great.
So, yeah.
So one last question for you, which I ask all my guests. Is Dhansak really your favorite Parsi dish? Or like if you had to have one last Parsi food before you died, what would it be? Oh my gosh, this is not gonna be good. Because I did not like Dhansak until a few years ago. Yeah. So full confession,
like
because I have cooked so much Dhansak now, I can't eat it. Like I eat it like once in 3 months. Like, like if someone makes it in my kitchen, I'm just like, they'll be like, ma'am, would you like to taste it? And I'm just like, no, I really don't want to taste it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do love Dhansak now. Would it be the last? No, I think my favorite Parsi dish would be jingana curry chawal, which is like shrimp curry chawal, or kekrana curry chawal, which is crab curry rice. Those two are my favorite, and I think if I ate those, I would die peacefully.
Perfect.
So I mean, it could be all of them. I don't care, but I do love curry chawal more.
Yeah, I'm team curry chawal as well. So.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Great. So I had a lovely time. Thank you, Vera, for coming on Not Just Dhansak. And it was great talking about Parsis Exchange Recipes. And I hope we get to 50,000 members soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Perzen. I really appreciate it. Happy to do this anytime with you.
Great.
This was a great conversation. Thank you for including me in this.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I wish you guys a lot of luck with this.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the show, Vera.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.
Look! Up in the internet! It's a meme! No! It's a cat video! No! It's the Geek Fruit Podcast!
That's right. We interrupt this riveting broadcast to tell you about our show, The Geek Fruit Podcast, where Tejas, Dinkar, and I, Jishnu, talk about everything in pop culture, including DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Netflix, and everything in between.
You know how your friends hate it when you ramble about some nerdy crap and you just want somebody to listen to you? Well, sorry, there's nothing we can do about that, but come listen to us ramble and it'll almost be like the real thing. Kind of.
Listen to new episodes of the Geek Fruit Podcast every Monday and the Geek Fruit Bulletin every Thursday on iTunes, Google Podcasts, the IVM app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy listening, you nerds.
माणसं ना गोलगप्प्यासारखी असतात. हाय हॅलो करताना वेगळी आणि बोलताना वेगळी आणि गप्पा मारताना वेगळी, मित्र झाली की वेगळी आणि शत्रू म्हणून वेगळी, थोडक्यात दिसणारी वेगळी आणि असणारी वेगळी, कधी आंबट, कधी गोड, कधी तिखट, तर कधी चमचमीत आणि कधी कधी हॉट अँड स्पायसी सुद्धा. आणि म्हणूनच गप्पा सॉरी गोलगप्पा विथ तृप्ती खामकर फक्त तुमच्यासाठी दर बुधवारी IVM पॉडकास्टच्या ऍपवर, वेबसाईटवर किंवा युट्यूब चॅनलवर सुद्धा ऐकू शकता. तुम्ही आमचा पॉडकास्ट वेगवेगळ्या पॉडकास्ट प्लॅटफॉर्मवरती ऐकू शकता. फक्त सर्च करा गोलगप्पा विथ तृप्ती खामकर आणि आमचा पॉडकास्ट ऐकत रहा.